Vendetta introduces us to another recurring Batman villain, Killer Croc, which makes for one of the coolest title cards in the series. This episode is a lot like See No Evil in that it feels like a typical issue of Detective Comics where we follow Batman as he investigates and incapacitates the threat by the end, usually with a twist or two and compelling characterizations. The episode begins with a crook named Spider Conway and a police boat being taken to court to spill information on Rupert Thorne so he can get a sentence cut short. The Gotham Police, specifically Commissioner Gordon and Detective Bullock, are major elements in this story, really lending to the feeling of a detective narrative. Vendetta has an absolutely terrific moody atmosphere, with the heavy rain on the Gotham docks in the dead of night. A bomb was planted on the police boat and Conway is nowhere to be found after it explodes. When Batman goes out into the Batboat to check the docks of Stonegate, the prison Conway was being held at before being taken to court, he finds a toothpick, which Bullock always has. This is the first real hint the audience gets that Bullock might be a dirty cop, especially after he says that Conway is scared of someone getting to him before he can go to court. The second is in a conversation between Bullock and Gordon in which Batman eavesdrops on. Gordon takes Bullock off the Conway case because it would bring a bad history with Thorne that would attract the attention of internal affairs. After reading Bullock's file, Batman discovers that this is because Bullock was accused of taking bribes from Thorne, which was dropped due to lack of evidence. This is pretty sophisticated crime drama for a kids show, but the mission statement for the series from the beginning was that the writers wrote stories they wanted to see, in this case a hard-boiled detective story. This episode was written by Michael Reeves, who also wrote some of Batman the Animated Series' most memorable episodes, including I Am the Night and A Bullet for Bullock. His scripts bring a more hard-boiled edge to the story and the characterization of Batman, which definitely fits. So, on that point, Batman then goes to interrogate Rupert Thorne about whether he had something to do with Conway's boat being bombed. When they are interrupted by Thorne's guards, Batman exhibits some of his more Frank Miller traits when he smiles as he's intimidating Thorne and his men. I was saying, you better hope your men are very good shots. When Thorne finally talks, he tells Batman that Conway didn't have anything all that incriminating against him and was not worth taking out. This leaves Batman back to the drawing board and investigating Bullock. Batman has a great conversation with Gordon in which he takes up for Bullock, telling Batman that despite his attitude, Bullock is a good cop. One of the things I like most about Gordon's character is his warmth, and this is why he's willing to give Bullock the benefit of the doubt. Batman checks the wreckage of the bombed police boat and finds a scale, while someone disguised as Bullock goes to the Gotham jail and abducts one of the prisoners, Joey the Snail. That just had to rhyme, didn't it? A good misdirection that makes the audience second-guess the fact that it was obviously not Bullock, judging from his hands, is that they use Bullock's voice, Robert Costanzo, when entering the jail, though it changes to Killer Croc's voice when he abducts Joey. Bullock is arrested for abducting Joey, but Batman breathes a sigh of relief that it was not for trying to bomb Spider Conway. Batman continues to examine the scale, which leads to one of the most comedic Batman moments in this entire show. Alfred doesn't really get too much to do in his appearances besides getting Batman what he needs and retorting with irreverent dialogues, which Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. says is always in good taste. This episode is not an exception, but Alfred inadvertently makes Batman realize that the scale is much like a crocodile's, despite having a human cell structure. When Alfred brings Batman his soup, Alfred says that it's a microwavable crock, so it won't get cold. And Batman smiles and says, Alfred, you're beautiful! From a trip to the zoo, Batman is able to infer that a crocodile man would hide in underwater caves. The sequence underwater is very cool, even before Batman goes into the cave to fight Killer Croc, when he's in the Batboat and swims out of it. Batman finds Joey and Conway being held by Croc. Killer Croc's appearance is unique compared to most other versions of the character, most notably having pale skin rather than the green skin. I'm not certain if with Killer Croc they went in the direction that he's a straight-up superhuman, or that he has a skin condition. When looking Croc up, Batman does say that before he was a wrestler, Croc was a carnival freak show attraction. It's not terribly important, but it does make me wonder. Batman fends off Croc and takes both Conway and Joey presumably to jail. The reason that Croc wanted revenge on Conway, Joey, and Bullock is that Bullock was able to convict Croc to jail from testimonies by Conway and Joey, hence the title of the episode. Bullock is released from jail, I think as a trap for Croc, judging how Batman said that he needed to bring Croc out of hiding after abandoning his sea cave. Croc wanted to exact his revenge on Bullock more than anyone by making him experience jail before finally killing him, which is a clever plan, but I also thought that through his dialogue, the episode made it clear that he's more of a street thug and not a criminal mastermind like the Joker. After saving Bullock from Croc, Batman follows him into the sewers for a thrilling final showdown. I'm so happy that this episode has such a cool fight at the end, but only after Batman has used his detective skills to get there. The episode on the whole is really engaging and dynamic. Part of the reason this review has had so much summary of the plot is that while this episode is not extremely dense, Batman follows plenty of leads and has to overcome obstacles to follow them. The episode ends with Batman having another great dialogue, this time with Bullock. Over past episodes such as On Leather Wings and Nothing to Fear, these two characters have had an antagonistic relationship, but at the end here they understand that while having different methods, they both believe in justice. When Bullock talks to Summer Gleason after having been cleared of charges, he says that he's going back to taking care of the criminals on the street, and Batman actually smiles. Despite being a dark and atmospheric episode, I actually think Batman smiles here more often than in any other episode. The episode of Bullet for Bullet continues to examine the relationship between these two characters. There's not much more to Killer Croc than having a revenge motive and some cool fight scenes, but that's okay, because his plan makes sense and challenges our heroes. The audience doesn't completely get into any character's head, but we do understand Batman more than Bullock because we follow Batman's perspective mostly. Batman is an interesting enough character that despite the fact he doesn't like to talk much, the audience finds it more compelling when we follow him. This was lacking for a few episodes around the time of It's Never Too Late, and probably would have improved Be a Clown exponentially. It also really impresses me that even though this episode speaks of many events that happened before the series and episode, it never resorts to using flashbacks, which is kind of unusual for your standard superhero show. Batman is a character that is set in his ways and methods, but he does have a character arc, albeit a small one, with his relationship with Bullock. Though he never completely condemned Bullock, which I like, Batman himself says that he thought Bullock was guilty, and his conversation with Gordon illustrates this. Another key aspect of Batman is that he can be prone to being pessimistic and untrusting. By acknowledging Bullock's innocence at the end, Batman gets past this when he realizes that he can trust Bullock, like he trusts Gordon. I really like this scene, and I've already mentioned it, but Gordon and Batman have a great talk. I absolutely love all the screen time Gordon gets. Bob Hastings, expertly pulls off Gordon's dialogue, and he sounds like a real cop, though each line he has contains that heart that makes Gordon unique from all the other cops in Gotham. Since I'm talking about voice actors already, Robert Costanzo is absolutely perfect for the role of Bullock. Just his vocal quality matches extremely well with the character design. As an actor, he brought all the gruffness Bullock needs, but he also brings the heart to the role, not unlike Bob Hastings for Gordon, though nowhere near as prominent. Bullock is more like a guy that comes off like a jerk, but the more you get to know him, the more you like him. Aaron Kincaid voiced Killer Croc, and even though he didn't blow me away, he did a good job with the role. Kevin Conroy as Batman is more prominent this episode because a major component of the audience being engaged with Batman's detective skills is due to his performance. He was also able to bring a more sinister quality to the Batman voice when he's intimidating Rupert Thorne. The animation is the most noticeable thing about this episode. It's easily one of the best looking episodes in the show, and I'm almost certain the same animation studio animated See No Evil, which is cool because it also felt like an issue of Detective Comics, though I may be wrong about this. I believe this episode was also animated by Spectrum Studios, who did Heart of Ice. I can tell that a certain studio animated several episodes because of the way Batman's character design is drawn. It's the same character design, but much like in Batman comics with different artists, it's drawn differently. Greg Capullo on the New 52 on Batman's main title won't draw Batman exactly the same way as the artist would on Batman and Robin. For example, Batman looks pretty much the same in On Leather Wings and Heart of Ice, but not really in I Am the Night. This was eliminated in the new Batman Adventures when the designs were simplified because Bruce Timm wanted the characters to look as on-model as possible. The environments at the beginning especially look really good with the heavy rain and the fog. One of the best Batman shots ever is in this episode, when you see Batman's reflection before opening a window to find Bullock's file. Both Batman and Killer Croc move fluidly, especially in their fight in the sewers, and the water is well animated along with the punches and kicks. It was also cool to see Batman using red lenses before blinding Killer Croc with a flash bomb. The whole look is definitely very pulp looking, which really adds to the hard-boiled tone. Vendetta is a lot like an issue of Detective Comics, but it also reminds me of how a standalone issue of Frank Miller's Daredevil run would be. The music lends to this tone as well, keeping Batman's investigation and the fight scenes as well engaging for the audience. Overall, Vendetta is an exceptional Batman animated series episode where Batman is shown as a bona fide detective while dealing with his relationship with the law through Detective Bullock. Equally important is that the animation definitely backs this up, so I rate Vendetta a 4.5 out of 5. I highly recommend people check this out, only docking it half a point because Killer Croc is the least interesting part of this episode. He's still cool, but compared to everything else that goes on, he's the least interesting part. That being said, it's good that his plan made sense and provided a physical threat to Batman. Thanks to you guys as always for watching. I'll return with a review for another Scarecrow episode, Fear of Victory. I hope to see you then. Till then, goodbye.